So in the last module, we looked at a more sophisticated or nuanced notion of what it was to make a good decision or choice. And then we looked at a more sophisticated or nuanced notion for what it is we should be striving for when we form beliefs or when we refrain from forming a belief. Now let's just look at this general notion of having information available to you. One of the things I think that's important and that critical thinking can help us with is that people often form beliefs and make choices without the benefit of even readily available information. And they'll often do this precisely because they lack the basic skills or the infrastructure necessary to properly research beliefs or to make choices. So being able to assess whether or not you have enough information to make a choice or to form a belief, or knowing how to go out and proactively find that information in order to form that belief or make that choice, these are really important skills that need to be cultivated. And I'll give you just two examples of this. So I used to know a bunch of people who were the friends of my son's mother who were big fans of this guy, Ron Paul. Now, Ron Paul is Rand Paul's dad. He served as a House member from Texas for a very long time. He's retired now. But they really liked him, and they really liked him for particular views, one of which was that he was always talking about how we should revert to the gold standard and how we should always audit the Fed. So when they told me how great Ron Paul was, I said, wow, you know, that's interesting because I don't think he really does those things. He talks about them all the time, sure, but I don't think he really does it. And sure enough, I took him to a site where you can see what a particular politician in the House, at the Senate, what bills they've sponsored or co-sponsored and how they voted. And so when you looked at all the bills that Ron Paul had voted on, and all the bills he had sponsored or co-sponsored or so on, you didn't see anything about reverting to the gold standard or auditing the Fed. The things that they liked about him were things that he talked about all the time. He ran for president many times as well, right? Those things weren't really what he did when he was in Washington. And when you sort of looked at the record, what you discovered was he was a consistent enemy of women's legislation and a consistent enemy of legislation on education. Those seem to be the two patterns that you could really see that just kind of jumped out when you looked at his record. Now, they were really kind of surprised and taken aback by this. And it was clear to me that they had no real knowledge of what Ron Paul really did. And they really didn't know where to go to find it. And it was kind of surprising to me. They weren't, stupid, naive, or anything like that. But it just had never occurred to them to check and see if the rhetoric is matched by action. The next example I want to talk about is an example with my family. So right around the time that we switched to online-only instruction, I remember I had a phone call with my family, and I was talking with my family. Most of them live in Ohio. And I was telling them, that I thought that the university was going to switch to online-only instruction and that the COVID-19 outbreak was much worse than we anticipated and that it was quite a deadly disease. And in fact, I mentioned to them that they were at risk. And they said, no, it's not that bad, and we're not at risk. They didn't know. They're all at risk on the basis of age alone. They have things like diabetes or immune responses or transplants. They have a whole bunch of features that increase their risk, and they didn't know any of that stuff. They didn't know how serious the outbreak was in the United States at the time, right? So they didn't have any of the knowledge that was important for them to make decisions about their own health. And so I found myself in the middle of this phone call quickly texting them a link to the Johns Hopkins COVID-19 information page. And they were all shocked. And in, weird moment, they're all thanking me for sending them this basic information on COVID-19 from Johns Hopkins, which they clearly didn't know how to get and clearly didn't have. And this is important, and it doesn't reflect on people's intelligence. It reflects on the ability to assess how much evidence you have and whether that's sufficient, and the ability to be able to go out and proactively find information, not just Google things, but go out and find good sources of information. And this is something that we can get from critical thinking. Finally, as we form beliefs and as we accumulate experience, we start to develop belief systems. So systems of beliefs that turn around a particular topic. So, if you have a set of beliefs about religion, then you have a religious belief system. If you have a set of beliefs about relationships, then you have a relationships belief system. Now, the most important or comprehensive of these is your worldview. Your worldview really contains all the beliefs that you have about what you should be valuing, about the nature of society, of yourself, of your place in society, of the universe, of your place in the universe. It's the thing that gives you your perspective on your own life. And these belief systems and worldviews, they operate in the background, constantly helping you to conceptualize and understand your experiences. And so this worldview, this set of beliefs, values, and practices that constitute your understanding of yourself, of your society, and the universe, and your place in those things, right? That's always operating in the back of your cognition, always informing how you understand and react to things. And so by developing a systematic, comprehensive, consistent worldview, you prepare yourself better to have adaptive interactions in all the situations that you encounter in the real world.